Hey everyone, and welcome to the Learning Ladder. Today I'm doing my September homeschool update. I'm going to try and do these monthly, be fun to look back on once we get to the end of the year. So we are approaching week 5, so it'll be week 5 for us next week. We have completed 4 weeks of school, so yay us. It has been really good. We ended up having 7 weeks off for the summer rather than 6. We actually finished a week later than what I had originally planned when I first started our homeschool year, and I thought, we're just going to do an extra week because with moving and everything, and all the organising and stuff I still wanted to do. I thought, I just feel like we need an extra week, so we actually took 7 weeks for our summer holiday, which was really nice. The first time I've ever done that, and it was really nice. But I was glad to get back into a routine, because I feel like as an adult, when you don't have a routine, you end up staying up too late. Oh no, I do anyway. And then it's just the day's gone by the time it's time to get up and stuff. So I just feel like when I'm in a routine, it's much better. So as hard as it is to get back into a routine when you've had a nice long break, but it has actually been pretty seamless, so that's good. In terms of how everything's going, so I'm just going to break it down. We'll talk about each subject. So language arts. Oh, by the way, our schedule is working really well, so I'll mention that first. I did that Halloween decoration will not say. I did film my schedule, and everything's changed the same, except I have ended up doing all our electives on a Friday, which I really do actually like. So for the first week we tried it as the schedule was in that video, and the only thing that's changed is I've moved all the electives to a Friday, and I actually really prefer it. It's been really fantastic. I love it so much better than it was before. I just feel like the electives don't feel rushed, but because they're at the end of the day, which they would have been at the end of the day, it feels like we've got time to dedicate to them and everything, and it's just been a much better transition having them on a Friday. I really do like that. So let's go subject by subject. So language arts, main curriculum is learning language arts through literature. Seamless to start the new year with it. It's been great. I always feel like there's a bit of review at the first maybe 3-4 weeks, and then you start getting into it. So we have 2 weeks of our poetry unit, which is really nice. I really actually do enjoy that, particularly because we've been doing poetry in our morning basket. We've been switching between 2 books, an Edgar Allan Poe book and 100 Years of Poetry for Children, and they're both really enjoyable books. The poem that she actually chose to memorise, because that was one of the things she had to do as part of the first week of the poetry unit, was not actually from that. I can't think what that book's called. I'll put it in the comments because I'll kick myself after I've made this video, because I'll instantly remember. But it's where he does comical poems, and she picked a funny one. So she memorised that one for the first week, and then we continue with the poetry unit next week. So that learning language arts literature has been going great. For the first 2 weeks we tried the Well-Trained Mind for their grammar, and then for this next 2 weeks we tried Fix It Grammar. And not really to anyone's surprise, I guess, we are going with Fix It Grammar. I do really like the Well-Trained Mind, don't get me wrong, and I actually think I will utilise it at certain points, especially the teacher guide, because I think it explains much better than Fix It Grammar does. I think Fix It Grammar is a very brief overview, and I think that's why I like to do learning language arts through literature and not just use Fix It Grammar as our main curriculum. For me, Fix It Grammar is instruction, but a lot of review. So I feel like there's much more instruction in the Well-Trained Mind book. So I do really like that curriculum, but because we were trying to do IEW as well, and we'll get to talking about IEW in a bit, because we were trying to do IEW as well, it just felt there was too much. There was so much involved in the Well-Trained Mind, because you had to read through all the information with them first, then they had to do their exercises, and some of the exercises were a couple of pages long. So if you add that to learning language arts through literature plus our IEW, it just made language arts super long. So we've decided to do Fix It Grammar for the rest of the year, and I will revisit doing the Well-Trained Mind maybe next year, maybe when we're not doing IEW, and I think that would be better, because that Well-Trained Mind curriculum you can use at any point during the high school years. So as long as you've done 2 years of it, then that's sufficient. They say it's great if you can do all 4, but if you can just do 2 of them, then you'll be it does go quite in depth, the grammar, especially after week 20, because it actually even says in the book you only really need to do up to week 20 the first year, and then do the rest of it the next year, because the concepts and the difficulty level increases so much after week 20. There's things in there that I have not even remotely seen in Fix It Grammar, any of the levels that I've got. I think it wouldn't be till you know, there's only a few more levels of Fix It Grammar left, so I think it's not until the later levels of Fix It Grammar that you get the same. I haven't compared lesson for lesson, but I think the concepts in the Well-Trained Mind book after the week 20 are really quite advanced. So I feel happy with the choice to do Fix It Grammar. It's what she wanted to do, and I ultimately said I'd give her the choice, which I did do, and she seems to be quite happy with doing the Fix It Grammar. Because we're doing IEW as well, I think it does tally well, because it says in the IEW book, you know, do your next lesson of Fix It Grammar, but we actually do it the other way around anyway. We do Fix It Grammar before we do IEW, but they just do kind of marry up, especially with certain things, stylistic techniques that you introduce into IEW. They're mentioned in the Fix It Grammar book, so I do think they do pair really nicely together. We've also been doing All About Spelling, and again, that's seamless. We've used that for years. I don't ever feel like there's a learning curve when we restart with that one, because it's just something we've always known. There was a little bit of a learning curve with the Well-Trained Mind. I had to get my head around it. She had to get her head around it because it was a new curriculum. But I do think it would have worked just fine had we have not been doing IEW as well. So that brings me to IEW, and we have tentatively been slowly dipping our toe into IEW. It's only 26 weeks, or you can spread it to 30. So I've just been going really slowly with it. Not because it's too much or anything, just to fit it into our day. Because we have it where it's at the end of the day once we've done everything else. And the videos are super long, so I've just been spreading it out. So we'll do 20 minutes over here, we'll do 20 minutes over there, and if we don't finish it that week, we'll carry on to the next week. But in terms of difficulty level, it's perfectly fine, because we skipped 2A and we went from 1A to 1B. I wasn't sure whether or not it would be the right level until we tried it, but it's fine, absolutely fine. So if you're unsure, then just email them. I think that's the best thing to do. That's what I actually did to decide which level to purchase. They'll go through all the options with you, but I feel confident that it is perfectly on level for her. And at the moment, we're still in all the review weeks, because I think for the first 6 weeks, you just pretty much review techniques you've learned from the previous level, but there's more source text to deal with. That's the only difference so far. We haven't come across anything new yet. So that's language arts. Math, we have continued with Saxon. Again, there's no real learning curve with Saxon, and for several of the lessons, I'd say 20 lessons, maybe more, are review oftentimes with Saxon. I've noticed there's not quite as much this time. It does kind of move quite quickly, this level that we're doing now, to new concepts, or not necessarily new, but more challenging versions of the concepts quicker than previous levels have. But I would expect that anyway, because we're approaching the high school years in terms of the Saxon curriculum. But yes, no problems with it. Really happy with it. I'm not using any supplementation currently with Saxon. It just seems to be working really well. So long may that continue, because ideally I do want to use Saxon till the end, but we'll see. Obviously, I'm open to change if it's not working completely, but for right now, it's going really well. So science, we are loving elemental science. We did several levels of elemental science, and we took a break and tried different things, and I don't know why I did that, because I reminded myself over and over again how much I actually do really like it. It's a bit of everything. So you get some living books in there, you get an experiment, there's notebooking in there, there's answering questions, there's diagrams. It's just fantastic. I really do love elemental science, so that's going great. We've also been doing human anatomy from Guest Hollow. And again, that is going really well. I love all the living books that go with it. I did have an issue with some of her printables that she suggested that we use, only because I didn't have a membership to this website, which you have to pay to get a membership from, and you're only allowed to download a certain amount every month. So I couldn't download everything all at one time, which is what I really like to do in the summer holidays. That's the only thing I didn't like. So I could only download up to a certain point, and then you don't get any more downloads for that particular month, and you have to wait till the following month. So I haven't been able to download all my printables that I need, but it's not the end of the world. It's just something that I didn't really like, to be honest, but it's not the end of the world. I just, we've got enough to keep us going, and then I'll just have to, every week or two, just download the rest of them. There aren't tons of printables, to be honest, and they're not essential. It's just if you want the diagrams, because I like to do a science notebook, so I do want the diagrams and things that she suggested. But everything else, the videos, all the book suggestions are all fantastic, so I love that. And yeah, it's been we've been really enjoying it. So history and geography were both new for us this year, so I definitely think there's a learning curve with those two. It's going fine, no problems, everything is, you know, when she's picking up on everything, but it is different than what we're used to. So we're used to doing Story of the World, and I much prefer Story of the World. I do think at times it can feel a little bit dry. That's why I have utilized two rather than just the one textbook, because the other textbook is kind of more written in a story format like Story of the World, so we're still getting that story element that we really liked. I do think sometimes it does feel a little bit like school, to be honest, more so, which doesn't make any sense, but it feels more like something I did when I was in school as opposed to Story of the World, which I felt was more organic learning. Not that that's a bad thing, and ultimately she's gonna have to sit school exams, so is it a bad thing? No, it's not. And I've actually checked looking ahead, and for people that are actually doing the qualifications in history and geography, I don't know if she's going to choose those yet, but if she does, the texts that we're actually using are what they recommend to use in the lead up to doing your GCSE. So in that respect, we're doing the right thing. If she decides to go that way, I don't know yet whether she will do history and geography, but I want her to be prepared in case. I just wish that it was a little bit more like Story of the World, but again, not the end of the world, and you know, we're making the best of it, and I can add more to it if I want to, so we can add some YouTube videos. I haven't felt like I needed to do that yet because we have the story element with the other textbook, but I might actually you know, spend a little bit of time going through and just seeing if there are some YouTube videos and things, just so I can make it a bit more lively, if you like, a bit more interesting rather than just reading the text. I do have read louds that we can use to go along with, and independent reads that I can assign for her. We just haven't reached that point yet in the book where, you know, they marry up basically, because they're only in the first chapters right now, but as we get further along in pivotal moments and things, then I could obviously introduce more books. So yes, that's it. They're going fine. I have my little, I wish we could still use Story of the World a little bit, but we're fine. It's fine. Nothing wrong with them at all. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with them at all. And I think they do set you up perfectly if you are going to do exams in those subjects. So that's what we want. IT, we're really enjoying the IT curriculum. It's very much theory based at the moment, so we're learning all about binary numbers and things like that, but hopefully as we get further along, she'll get into some more projects. But I am still doing typing.com as well, and I think I'm going to introduce a bit more Scratch and Python of my own that we've done previously, just to keep things interesting, so it's not all, you know, the theory of computers, which can seem a bit boring if you're used to more exciting curriculum, I guess. But it's not that it's not exciting, it's just, I mean, you need to know those things. As we get further along in the chapters, there's more project-based stuff, which is what we really like. But I found the first couple of chapters are a bit dry, so just expect that. But I think as you get further into it and you get to the more project-based stuff, then it does kind of lively itself up a bit. So that's something that I'm looking forward to. It's not that she's complaining at all, it's just me as a teacher. I'm like, oh, this is not very entertaining or interesting, and I know not everything has to be, but I think sometimes people can present things in a more interactive way, which I do appreciate when curriculum is like that. Art, loving the art course. We're doing the watercolor course, the Brenda Ellis one. Really enjoy it. I just think that the way she presents everything is just really easy to follow, and you know, she does her example, and you know, she makes the emphasis and the point of that, you know, it doesn't have to match up with yours. You know, art's one of those things that everyone's art is individual and things. So I do really like that. We've been enjoying using the materials she suggested. We're currently only doing the watercolor pencils one right now, but I've really noticed having, and like, obviously, I mean, why didn't I know this before? But I never experienced it because I've never had them before, but having the higher quality materials, it does make it a lot better when you're trying to do art, which is probably very obvious, but I've always, like, as she was younger, I've always used, you know, the cheaper type of watercolor, like the Stedler brand or something, which I still think is fair and, you know, still does work fine. But I've noticed when you up the game, if you like, with the materials, then I do notice the quality in use improving of them, but that's kind of obvious. Let me think, what else? Our electives, she's loving sewing so much, so much. I mentioned in a previous video that I've really noticed this year how much her electives, I don't know how I can put it, how much more her elective she can actually input into her electives. I feel in the past it was often me presenting electives as an idea, and you know, why don't you try this scenario, and I've noticed this year in particular that she'll really dive into it herself. For example, she won't just sew when we're doing a lesson, she'll choose to sew in her own free time and things, and that's really nice to see, and it just shows maturity and, you know, interest-led learning as well. I like that spark where your child wants to do something on their own volition and own free will, rather than just in school. To me, that's always great. What else? Illustration. We've been loving looking at different illustrators and their books, and you know, some of the technical side of it as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So far so good. Good start for September. We have started our Harry Potter unit study for the second book, which we're enjoying. We've also started our book study with the Mysterious Benedict Society as part of Learning Language Arts through Literature. But I think my favourite thing so far has been our morning basket. So I showed you in a previous video the morning basket books that we were using, and I just love that time first thing in the morning where we just go through different books, and especially it's called, let me see, which one is it, The Storyland by Amy Jeffs. I've been really enjoying that, and because a lot of it is historical, it kind of makes the fact that our history curriculum is not story of the world based, it kind of makes up for that, because these are all historical stories. Obviously some of them are myths and legends, but I just feel like that kind of, because that is kind of history in the morning as well, it makes our history lesson more exciting, if you see what I mean. We've also got some reference books that we've been using in terms of, you know, Animal a Day. We've been reading poetry. We've been looking at the books where you do, you know, what happened on this day scenario. We have been loving, her favourite one has been the mystery book, where we read a different mystery each day, and then we've been incorporating some of our spooky stories and spooky mysteries for October, because obviously we're approaching October now, but I'm not going to talk too much about October because I'll talk about that in our update for October. But yes, September, great start, and yeah, I'm really happy with how everything's going. So far so good. Curriculum is working out. But yeah, that's everything, all our changes and everything for September. So I'll catch up with you in our October update. So thanks so much for watching. Let me know how your first term or first quarter is going, and I'll speak to you soon. Take care. Bye for now.